Welcome to the Narcissism Freedom channel. Whether you're returning or joining us for the very first time, I want to thank you for being here. This is a sacred space, a place where your healing is honored, your journey is respected, and your spirit is gently reminded of who you truly are beneath the pain, the patterns, and the past. Today, we reflect on a truth many of us eventually must face on our healing path, that in order to rise, we must be willing to let go of the old version of ourselves, the version we created to survive, the version who stayed quiet when we should have spoken up, the version who carried burdens that were never ours to begin with. Who you were was not a mistake. It was a reflection of what you knew then, what you needed then, and what helped you cope in a world that may not have been kind or safe. But who you were is not who you're destined to remain. That version of you was just the beginning. Now it's time to rise. So many of us walk around with an outdated image of ourselves. We carry shame for things we've long outgrown. We replay stories that no longer reflect our current truth. And without even realizing it, we begin to limit ourselves, shrinking to fit the old mold, the old roles, and the old definitions of worth. The healing journey asks us to look deeper. It calls us to release our grip on that past identity, to mourn it if necessary, and to step forward in alignment with who we're becoming. That requires courage. That requires faith. And most of all, it requires compassion. Because transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's not a straight line. And you will have moments where you want to run back to what's familiar, even if it hurts. But every time you choose your healing over your fear, you're rising. Every time you choose peace over people-pleasing, you're rising. Every time you stop explaining yourself to people who never tried to understand you, you're rising. Letting go is not failure. It's faith in motion. It's the deep inner trust that your next chapter will be better, even if you can't see all of it yet. The old version of you had wisdom, but it also had wounds. It had strength, but it also had survival patterns that may no longer serve you. Maybe that version stayed in relationships that drained you. Maybe it believed the lies narcissists told you about your worth. Maybe it doubted your voice, your vision, or your value. But just because that's who you were then doesn't mean that's who you have to be now. You get to evolve. You get to rewrite your story. And you don't need anyone's permission to do so. In fact, the most sacred breakthroughs often come quietly in the moments where no one is watching. In those quiet moments where you feel God inviting you to shed the layers that were built in pain and step into the light of truth. As 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17 tells us, if anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. The old has gone and the new has come. That's not just a spiritual cliche. It's a call to live in the truth that you are allowed to become new. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to set new boundaries. You are allowed to walk away from the version of you that was shaped by trauma, by survival, by scarcity, and by fear. Becoming new is not pretending the old didn't happen. It's letting the old serve its purpose without letting it set the tone for your future. The past version of you deserves love. They tried their best with what they had. But the present version of you is ready to live with purpose, with clarity, and with freedom. Letting go of the old self doesn't mean you lose your identity. It means you finally step into it. You no longer cling to titles, roles, or identities that were formed out of dysfunction or the need to fit in. You begin to align with your truth, your calling, and your higher self. You stop settling. You stop second-guessing. And you start walking with a quiet confidence that no one gave to you. You reclaimed it. And that confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't boast. It simply radiates from a place of inner peace. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to keep showing up for yourself. That's the real power. The real glow-up is peace. The real transformation is stillness, presence, and self-trust. You're not broken. You're breaking free. When you let go of the old version of yourself, you also let go of the expectations and timelines that kept you in cycles of shame. You start embracing divine timing. You begin to trust that your healing doesn't have to look like anyone else's. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. You begin to notice the small wins, the days you get out of bed even when you feel low, the boundaries you set even when your voice shakes, the prayers you whisper even when you don't feel strong. These are the signs that you're rising. You are not meant to stay who you were when you were in survival mode. You are not meant to live according to the labels others placed on you. The moment you begin to see yourself through the lens of grace instead of guilt, you open the door to becoming. And the beauty is, the real you is never lost, only buried. Buried under trauma, under noise, under fear. But now, it's time to unearth that light. It's time to rise, not because everything is perfect, but because your soul remembers who you are. So breathe. Release. Remember, you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to take one step at a time. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you've always been beneath the pain. And sometimes, that requires letting go of everything you thought you had to be. You are no longer obligated to be the fixer, the peacekeeper, the one who always sacrifices. You're allowed to choose you, not out of selfishness, but out of alignment with your truth. There is no reward in clinging to a version of yourself that no longer fits. That only leads to exhaustion, disconnection, and frustration. True peace begins when you finally say, I release that old identity. I release the fear. I release the shame. I step into who I am now, with grace, with courage, and with faith. Because God is not calling you to go backward. He is calling you forward, into deeper healing, into sacred wholeness, into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. If you feel led to support the growth and awareness of this channel, the details are below in the description. Your presence here helps this community reach more people who are walking the same path of healing and restoration. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support this message and ensure others who are searching for their breakthrough can find it. You are worthy of release. You are worthy of peace. You are worthy of your next chapter. And it begins the moment you decide to let go of the old version of yourself and rise.